Hello friends, it's Lisa and welcome to my bullet journal setup for 2023 as well as a flip through of my January spreads. As you can see, this video is going up a bit later than anticipated. I definitely would have wanted to get this up earlier on in the month, but it is what it is. I got my journal a little bit later than normal, so I will be showing you what I did for my beginning of the year spreads as well as my January spreads. But this year I decided to go with a notebook therapy journal. The past few years have used a journal from Archer and Olive, but I found that this year I just liked a lot of the designs from Notebook Therapy a little bit more than Archer and Olive, so I decided to go with this vintage rose. I think this is the pressed petal journal. I will have this journal as well as any supplies that I can link down below in the description, linked below any specific markers or anything that I use. That'll be in the description, but as you can see, we've started the setup. Of course, we had to do the name page, so I wanted to just have it be this kind of scrapbooky look, add some stickers. As you can see, I really struggled to decide what sticker I wanted to choose. I'm very bad at choosing and committing to stickers, but I decided on a very cute bunny sticker as well as some like rose stickers because I wanted the inside of my journal, the beginning of the year spreads, to kind of match the outside of the journal. So as you saw, this journal is this like nudish, tannish brown color with a rose detailing as well as like a vintage border kind of around the rose. So that is kind of where I got my inspiration for all of the beginning of the year spreads. Right now I'm drawing the rose that's going to be the kind of title page for the beginning of the year, the 2023 just title page. I never quite know what to do on this page that has that weird page on the left that doesn't quite open properly, so I always just do like a title page for the year, and I decided to kind of replicate the rose that was on the front cover, and also the box that surrounds the rose is also kind of inspired by the front cover. And all of the markers and everything that I'm using for these spreads are pretty neutral, all in the brown nudie kind of family. I also use a gold pen as well just to kind of add some dots and like some stars throughout the spreads, but again, like I said, I'll have all the supplies I use down below. But yeah, the title page, I just wanted it to kind of replicate the outside of the journal as well, just kind of an introduction to the journal. Alright, so now we're moving on to the actual like first spread of the journal, which is going to be the future log, which is just such a staple in any bullet journal. It's kind of an overview of all of the months in the year, and you can write down any birthdays, events, appointments, anything like that here. So it is kind of a pain to write out all of the numbers for all of the months, but you know, it's fine. One of these years I'll invest in stamps or stickers or something, but again, this year I decided to just write them all out myself. And then those little squares that you can't really see next to all of the months, that is my Instagram and YouTube trackers. So at the end of each month, I will just write out how many subscribers I have and how many followers I have on those platforms. It's just nice to keep track of those things. It's very like motivational to see that growth, but I did last year have a whole spread dedicated to that, but I thought that this would be a nice way to still include it, but not have like a whole spread dedicated to that. So the next spread that I'm working on is my grid spacing guide, which is kind of a confusing spread to explain, but basically I'm just numbering all of the boxes that make up a page in this journal. So going horizontal and vertical, and I also then just split the page up into halves, thirds, and fourths, so that when I'm making spreads in the future, if I need to split the page up in half, I know exactly how many spaces there are. It's just a quick way to reference that instead of having to count and do the math every single time. It's just really easy to look at this instead. And I find it important to put this spread on the left-hand side so that when I am further along in the notebook, it's easier to kind of flip to this page and see it. I will say I have seen people make like a little bookmark kind of thing with a grid spacing guide, and I find that that's really nice because then you can just kind of take it out and use it on any spread. So maybe next year I'll do that, but I just decided to make a grid spacing spread in general this year again, but we'll see, maybe I'll do something different next year. And then on the bottom in that empty space, I'm just writing grid spacing. I also drew another rose just to kind of add a little bit more to that empty space. And then on the right hand side is just going to be a section for notes. I sometimes throughout my monthly spreads will have like a brain dump page or a notes page just to kind of write down anything that I may need to. But I find that I don't use those pages every single month. They don't get filled out every single month. So what I decided to do was just have this notes page at the beginning of the journal for me to use, and then maybe once this fills up, I can start including them later on in the journal. I can have a monthly spread where I include a notes page, but I just find I don't need them every single month. So I thought I would just include one at the beginning of the journal just for anything I might need to write down. The next spread is one of of my favorite spreads to have in my bullet journal every year. This is my bookshelf spread, so this is where I keep track of all of the books that I read in a year. And like last year, I am going to have a reading journal for this year to keep track of all of the books I read, the ratings, do any fun spreads on that, kind of a more specific to all of the reading things that I want to track in a year. But I still like to include a bookshelf spread in my normal bullet journal because I do tend to look back on my bullet journals in the future, and I still want to have what I read in the year in my bullet journal, if that makes sense. Just in case, in the future I don't always look back on my reading journals, I will still have all of the books that I read in a specific year written down to look back on. I don't know, it's just a fun thing to include. So I'm just creating the bookshelf here, and then I also include 12 books on each shelf. So there are 120 books on this page. Do I think I'm going to read that many books this year? No, probably not. But I like to make sure that I have plenty of space just in case. And then I also like to keep track of the formats that I read the books in. So whenever I finish a book, I end up writing down the title of the book in one of the books on the bookshelf. And how many times did I just say book? But basically, when I write in the book title on one of the books, I also color it in with a certain color that correlates with the format. So if it was a physical book, an ebook, or an audiobook. And keeping on the trend of the neutral brown theme that I've been doing, I use all brown markers for the different formats, but it is fun to fill out throughout the year. It's definitely one of my favorite spreads to have at the beginning of my bullet journals. So yeah, I'm really excited to see this spread kind of fill up throughout the year, but now we're moving on to some other fun spreads. Keeping track of the movies and shows that I watch is something that I like to do at the beginning of my bullet journal as well. So on the left-hand side, I will be keeping track of any of the movies that I watched throughout the year, and on the right side, I will be keeping track of any shows that I watch. So I typically, especially with movies, just tend to watch the same things over and over again. I have my comfort movies, and I don't really stray from them. But if you have any recommendations for movies or shows that I should watch, things you think I would enjoy, definitely leave them down below, and hopefully I can maybe check some of them out this year. Also, I know that I forgot to cross the T's on this spread as well as my future log spread, and I promise that I did notice, and it is fixed in the flip through, so don't worry, I did notice and it's now fixed. And now we're moving on to the final couple of spreads for my beginning of the year spreads. These are going to be my memories from 2023 spreads. So I've done spreads like this in, I think, the past couple of journals where I was inspired by Amanda Rach Lee to each month print out a picture of something that happened that month, a memory I want to remember, something fun, or even if it was just something simple like a picture of my cat that I thought was really cute from the month. Anything like that I have done in the past couple of years in my bullet journals. But this year I kind of wanted to switch up this spread. So what I decided to do was still have a space for a picture from the month. So in the boxes that I'm coloring in with the different markers, my plan is to print out a picture from the month, something that happened, a favorite memory, or just a picture of Sam or something that I think is cute. Print out that picture and paste it there for the month. But then also in that bigger box, I can write down anything else that happened, anything else that I want to remember from the month. I am definitely a very sentimental person, and sometimes I would struggle to pick one picture from a month to print out and put in these spreads, so I thought this would be a nice way to still print out a picture to remember the month by, but also have a lot more options and a lot more things written down to remember from that specific month. I don't know, I just think this will be a fun spread to fill out throughout the year and be able to look back on, just having so many of my memories from the year all written down in one place. So yeah, for each month, I just have one box that I'm coloring in. That is where I will paste the picture from the month that I want to print out, and then in the bigger box, I'm planning on writing down any other memories from the month, and I think this will just be such a fun spread to be able to have at the beginning of my bullet journal, and not only throughout the year I'll be able to look back on it, but when looking back at my bullet journal in the future, because I do sometimes look through my old bullet journals, I think it will be really nice to have this spread and be able to remember when certain things happened and be able to look back on that. So this first spread was the first 6 months of the year, and now we're going to have the second half of the year on this spread. There's just no possible way to get all 12 months in one spread, so I decided to split it up into two. But while we're watching me set up this spread, I also wanted to talk about my January spreads. I will be showing a bit of a flip through of that. This bullet journal setup video went up quite a bit later than I anticipated and wanted to. I ordered my journal for 2023 I think like a couple days after Christmas, so it kind of got to me a bit late, but that's okay because I'm still filming it and showing you all. But I figured it would just be easier to set up my January spreads on my own, be able to get this video up for you even faster. But yes, I apologize for this video being up a little bit later than anticipated. I think it really is only bothering me more so than anybody else, but I still wanted to apologize for that. But I will be showing a flip through of my January spreads in a moment, so I will just let you enjoy the rest of the kind of beginning of the year spreads and me setting these up, and then I will be back for the flip through of these spreads as well as my January spreads. But that is it. Those are all of the spreads for my bullet journal for 2023, the beginning of the year spreads, and I'm so happy with how they turned out, and I'm really excited to start filling in this journal and starting to use it for the new year. Like I said, I got this journal a few weeks into 2023, so the first few weeks of January, I did not have a bullet journal to use, and I will say I felt a bit lost without it. I felt like I wasn't very organized and I was kind of all over the place. So I'm very excited to have this journal to start filling up and using throughout the year. But like I said, I'm also going to be doing a flip through of my January spreads as well. So after the final memories from 2023 spread, we get into my January spreads. So this month I decided to do this Polaroid cloud theme. I also did a bit of a Dutch door, which was kind of fun. I definitely want to start experimenting more, I think, in my journal this year and doing different things. So as you can see, the kind of design on this calendar page shows up on the title page of the month. You can kind of see it with the Dutch door. And again, like I said, because I got this journal a bit late, I was using this honestly for like the second half of January. So I decided to kind of switch up the way I did my calendar spread just to kind of experiment, see if I liked it, especially during a month where I wasn't going to be using it a ton. So I did this smaller calendar on the left side, and then I just have a place to list out events or holidays or appointments or anything on the side. I also have a little key for things that are events or birthdays versus like YouTube stuff, so what videos were going up which day. And then on the next page, we have my habit tracker on the left-hand side, where I will be tracking 6 different habits in January, and I was keeping track of them on my phone, so I knew how to fill this out when I actually finally had my journal set up. And then on the right-hand side is going to be my playlist page. So in months previously, like in my journal last year, I would have a monthly favorite spread, and because I have like the trackers at the beginning of the journal where I'm going to be keeping track of the movies and shows that I watch, as well as that memory page where I'm going to be writing down the memories from the month, I didn't think I really needed to do a monthly favorites page anymore. So what I decided to do was just do a playlist page, make sure I'm keeping track of the music that I'm listening to and loving throughout the year. And then we're moving on to the first couple of weeks for my weekly spreads. I'm not going to show what the next couple weeks look like because I did start filling it out, but it basically looks the exact same, so you're not missing anything. But I decided to kind of use the Polaroids for some of the boxes, add some clouds, add some of those sparkles, and then those are my weekly spreads for January as well. But that is it for my flip through of my 2023 bullet journal spreads as well as my January spreads. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.